A warm welcome to Diski Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership as Cape Town City do take on Mamelodi Sundowns. The last time out then, Cape Town City lost against AmaZulu 2-0 and Mamelodi Sundowns thumped Marumo Gallants 4-0. However, when we have a look at this encounter then, we are talking round 2 because they did do battle a couple of weeks ago in the MTN 8 final in a mouth-watering final where we saw so much quality from both sides. Hopefully, they pick it up where they left it off. So, when we have a look at Cape Town City, then, Cape Town City then are a tactically versatile team, by virtue of the fact that they do enjoy various formations and systems. But a formation that they have been going with as of late is a 3-4-3, and I think this is a formation then which suits the personalities within their squad, by virtue of the fact that they've got quality players who are then tactically versatile and actually fit the 3-4-3 system, by virtue of the fact that they're also then very intelligent players who then understand the intricate nuances of a 3-4-3 system. So when we have a look at it then, in goals, we've got Hugo Marks, and then as the back three, so many options, and so many options, I really do say that. But I would like to think that when you have a look at the back three, I would like to think that as the right-sided centre-back, you'd go with Tariq Philis. And then as the libero, you'd go with Abubakar Mubara. I just think that he would be the ideal libero, especially when you consider how comfortable he is then on the ball. And how then he's also able then to offer that extra defensive line for this Cape Town City side. He can step up into midfield and he reads the game very well. And then as the left-sided centre-back, this is where then you could either go with Edmilson, because naturally he is a left-sided player, so he plays as a left back, but he can also play as a centre back. But I think then this makes it quite the ideal position for him as the left-sided centre back, because then at times he will occupy a left back position, at times he will occupy a left-sided centre back position. So he could go with him, or he could go with Fasika. That is also another option, or you could go with Cupido. So this is then a defensive line that has so many options for Eric Tinkler. However, if we're looking at it from a qualitative perspective and who best fits the mold, then we're looking at Tariq Philis as the right-sided centre-half. You're looking at Mubara as the libero, and then you're looking at Edmilson. Some would argue that Fasika would fall into that back three. However, I think Edmilson would be better suited. And then when we move it on then into the heart of midfield, you've got Mukeke and then you've got Notata. When you have a look at these two then, these are quality midfielders. When you have a look at Mukeke, this is a player then who's well versed at dropping deep and assuming that deep laying playmaker role, by virtue of the fact that he's got such a great range of passing on him and he understands the game very well and he can dictate terms for this Cape Town City from deep. Great range of passing, he will collect it, he will spray it. Both sides, wherever he's looking for his wing backs, in usually it would be Mkhize, and then on this side, Mashego, very, very comfortable on the ball, reads the game very well, and he's able then to break down play for this Cape Town City side. And then you've got Notata, who is then the energizer. He goes box to box as an 8 and a very, very quality midfielder. And this is a player then who I think has so many traits and components to his game that could actually affect this Mamelodi Sundowns side on the day, because then he can go box to box, he can institute defensive action, and he's also got a goal in him. So we have seen in past seasons that he is able to pop up higher up the pitch and then find the top corner or find the bottom corner. He's also got good technique on him, so he could hurt Mamelodi Sundowns from all three phases, in build-up phase, in consolidation phase, and then in the final third if he does push up on the day. And then when we have a look at their wing backs, you've got Mkhize on the right side, and then you've got Mashego. But what I love about this system is that you could even go with the Martins if you wanted to, because he could offer you that. He is a right winger by trade, but this system then does allow a player who's very offensive in the wing roles to actually then play as a wing back by virtue of the fact that he's then got the defensive cover in the right side at centre back. But it will most likely be Mkhize who then would offer that width for Cape Town City. And then on the left side, it would be Mashego. And then when you have a look then at the front three, as the two number 10s, you're looking at Ralani, who starts on, who normally occupies the left-sided the left-sided half space, which is vertical zone 2, where he is then looking to cut in and take shots at goal himself. He is then at times will drift out whenever Mashego is in a deeper pocket of space, where then he can go one-on-one and cut in. But because of this system, he does start in that pocket of space, which is the half space. He can then also look to drift into zone 14 and drift into the box and look to then get those goals himself. And then as the other number 10, you'd have Mdantsane, who would be instituting creative play for this Cape Town City side, who plays as a 10. And what I like about Mdantsane then is that he ticks so many boxes from a qualitative perspective, and off the ball he does also offer you that extra man in midfield. Whenever then he is tasked to drop, he will drop and be able to help Unotata and Mukeke. But in possession of the ball, this is what you'd see from Cape Town City. And against Mamelodi Sundowns in that final, when Eric Tinkler made the formational tweak where he went to a 3-4-3, this is how then they were able, A, to press Mamelodi Sundowns high up, B, they were able then to keep the ball for long spells, and they had a phenomenal 25 minutes where then they were able then to outplay this Mamelodi Sundowns side. It's just that on the day, they couldn't then ensure that they penetrate and then finish off the game. And if that final was anything to go by, then I just think that this game is a mouth-watering encounter, and it will be a classic DStv Premiership clash. And I think that we are going to see an exciting and enterprising game from this Cape Town City side. And then up front, we do know that Fakhri Lakay did pick up that red card in the final, so still serving his suspension. So I think they'll go with Ajagun up front, or they could go with Morris, but I think they'll go with Ajagun for the mobility and the fluidity then that this front three would offer, and how much then they could be looking to trouble this Mamelodi Sundowns side. And yeah, very excited then for what Cape Town City could potentially do. The biggest problem then when it comes to Cape Town City is intensity and consistency. And when it comes then to their intensity, they become very inconsistent. And when it comes to consistency, they struggle with that, because they will have a phenomenal period and a phenomenal spell where they're instituting creative action, they're playing beautiful football, they're building very well from the back, working it into consolidation phase, penetrating into the final third and scoring those goals. They'll do that very well for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then they will just fade away in the game. And a prime example of that is when they played against Golden Arrows. So they were 4-0 up, and then within the dying minutes of the game, they find themselves scrambling and defending for their lives, and the game ends 4-3. That's not supposed to happen. So if Eric Tinkler, within the 2-week break that he had during the international break, had worked on those problems that Cape Town City do have, I think then this Cape Town City could become a very, very dangerous side, and could become a strong side going forward within the DStv Premiership. However, it's just addressing the issue of the intensity and addressing the issue of consistency, the lack thereof it during games, because they do tend to fade away, which then is very disappointing. However, let's have a look at Mamelodi Sundowns then. So when we have a look at this Mamelodi Sundowns side, this is a side then that is doing very, very well. The last time out, they did thump Marumo Gallants 4-0. And yeah, Mamelodi Sundowns are playing some of the most beautiful football to watch within South African football. And yeah, man, it just, yeah, magnifique. But anyway, let's go into Mamelodi Sundowns. Mamelodi Sundowns then do line up in a 4-3-3 system, which then would transition to a 3-4-3, or sometimes they could go with the 4-2-2-2. However, when you have a look at their current form and how they've been playing and the players who've been doing well, I think they could potentially institute a 4-2-2-2. But who would be the personnel? So in goals, Onyango starts. At right back, I think Mudau will start by virtue of the fact that he's been their most consistent right back. Yes, Murena has played there, but I just think that Mudau has been a bit better than Murena in the past couple of performances. So I think Mudau starts at right back. And then the two centre-backs, I think you have Grant Kekana starting as the right-sided centre-back. Then I think you'll have Lebusa. However, you do have Rushin Duruk as well, who could slot in there. And then at left back, I think Lyle Kay will make a return. And then moving on then into the heart of midfield. This is where it gets very interesting then, because they've got so many options that they could go with. But when we're having a look at it from a 4-2-2 perspective, I think then they will go with Andile Jali and Hashim Domingo. However, it's paramount to note that this Mamelodi Sundowns side, they've got a plethora of options within the heart of midfield. So they can also go with Rivaldo Kutsia. They can go with Umtobi Mvala. You know, just to mention a few. They've got so many options within the heart of midfield that they could go with. But I think it will be Jali and Hashim Domingo by virtue of the fact that the pair of them instituted at the heart of midfield within this approach and game model. They've been the most consistent and they've been doing very, very well. And yeah, another player to mention is Mkulisi as well. There's just so much quality in abundance. But Hashim Domingo and Jali, and then as the two playmakers, you'll have Zwane and Maema. You know, they do look to interchange. So Zwane can start off the right, and at times you do know that Zwane will pop up into the half spaces, will pop up in vertical zone 3, will pop up into the other half space, will pop up into the box as well in zone 14. He just drifts all over the show as he is Sundowns playmaker. He is the choir conductor. He's the man then who orchestrates this beautiful Sundowns team when it comes to their free-flowing, fluid passing game of football. And then you'll have Maema as well, who's been in fine form. I think he should start going into this game as he did pick up back-to-back Man of the Match awards against Maritzburg United and Marumo Gallants, respectively. Coming up into this encounter then, he's also another one who's looking then to institute creative play. He does pop up on the right side. He does pop up into the central pockets of spaces where then he's looking to skillfully manipulate that ball in tight pockets of spaces. However, where he tends to do a lot of his work is normally in the left-sided half space, which is vertical zone 2. That is where he's well adept. And he slightly favors the left-sided half space, because then in this half space, he can then use that left foot of his, which is like a wand. He can then find those penetrative passes. He can also drift out wide and find those beautiful crosses. You know, at times, he will then also drift to the right-hand side. He's also a player that is very difficult to actually pick up. So whenever Sundowns do institute those central overloads, you will find Zwane and Maema a lot of the times close to each other where they're looking to link up play. And then who would be their men playing ahead of them? So you'd have Ushalulile, and then you'd have Safranco, you know. But like I mentioned, man, from a qualitative perspective and from a depth perspective, Mamelodi Sundowns tick various boxes. So they could easily go with Ukutumela. They could easily go with a Serino, which then would change the shape a bit. It would go to a 4-3-3, but I think it would most likely be with Safranco or a Kutumela going into this encounter. And when we have a look at Mamelodi Sundowns then, how they do become aggressive and how they look to institute and impose their game model within the opposition half, and how aggressive they become is they'll have the two wing backs high and wide, so they'd keep the width, but then they would still then be able to ensure that they have the central overload in the pockets of spaces. So when you have a look at it, then they've got they'd have Mudau keeping the width on the right hand side in vertical zone 5. They'll have Laila K vertical zone 1 keeping the width on the left hand side. They'll have Grant Kekana, they'll have Lebusa, and then they'll have Jaliud often drop in there, and then you will have a Hashim Domingo, and then you'll have a Themba Zwane, who would then be a lot more advanced, and then you will have Maema. So this is what Sundowns then often do when they do look to overload the central pockets of spaces, and where they look to have the numerical advantage. And then you have Shalile, you'll have Safranco, and as of late, if you have seen, they are looking to find the pair of them with those crosses that they do play. And if then they go with maybe a Kutumela, then the shape within the opposition half changes. It would then go to somewhat of a 3-6-1, where then they are looking then to overload the two half spaces, have the numerical advantage within the heart of midfield, and then have Peter Shalile up front. And at the end of the day, this game will boil down to quality, intensity, and high press. And I say that because then these are two sides who take those three departments very, very well. So quality in possession, when they're on the ball, they keep the ball very well, they rotate it very well, and these are two teams then who believe in playing an intricately intertwined game of football where they pass through the three phases. So they start in build-up phase, they work it into consolidation, and then penetrate into the final third. Intensity then when they look to play with and without the ball, and the high press as well. They're always looking to press each other high up, especially when the other team is in their own half. However, when the other team then is in possession of the ball, just you find that the centre backs are just around the halfway line, then they do look to institute sort of a mid-block where they don't look to press them. But in this case, Sundowns will look to press Cape Town City. In this case, vice versa, Cape Town City will be looking to press Mamelodi Sundowns. And with this type of game, where two teams share a similar game model, it boils down to quality and intensity. And the team that possesses more of the quality and intensity on the day wins that game. And I think the team which will possess a lot more on the day will be Mamelodi Sundowns, as I see this game playing out 2-1 in favor of Mamelodi Sundowns. However, it will be round 2 of the MTN8 final. So, ladies and gentlemen, do let me know, what do you make of this encounter at home? Who do you think then will come out top? Do you guys think that Mamelodi Sundowns will win this game? Or do you foresee Cape Town City causing an upset? Or do you think they'll share the spoils a point apiece? Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. It is Dstv Premiership action as Cape Town City take on Mamelodi Sundowns. Signing out.